That is the exact same dimension as the money pit is described as having.
Yeah.
You have to go back to the original story, right?
Dad, you need to see this. Right now. What came out of that hole at 102 feet would make grown men weep. 6 people had died chasing this ghost. Hundreds of millions had been swallowed by the island's mud and seawater. 2 centuries of failure. 2 centuries of broken dreams. And then, in less than 4 minutes, everything changed. Gold coins, dozens of them, fused together like ancient treasure from a pirate film. Except this was real. A jeweled crucifix that had no business being buried in Canadian soil. Documents sealed in wax that would make historians question everything they thought they knew about the New World. But here's what nobody saw coming. This wasn't the treasure. This was just the door. The chamber they'd breached? Ground-penetrating radar showed it was only the first level. Below it, something bigger waited. Something that connected Knights Templar, George Washington, and a conspiracy that spans 700 years. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what we're about to reveal will change everything you thought you knew about Oak Island. To understand why Alex Lagina's discovery is the biggest archaeological find in North American history, we need to go back to 1795, to 3 teenagers, a dangling rope, and the moment Oak Island became the world's deadliest obsession. The curse that started it all. Daniel McGinnis was 16 when he found it. A circular depression in the ground on Oak Island's eastern end. Hanging above it, a ship's tackle block dangled from an old oak tree. The branch showed deep scarring, as if something heavy had been lowered into the earth. Daniel returned with friends John Smith and Anthony Vaughan. They dug. 2 feet down, they hit flagstones, deliberately placed. 10 feet down, a platform of oak logs. 20 feet, another platform. 30 feet, the same. Someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to bury something deep. The teenagers couldn't continue alone. They needed help. But when they returned years later with equipment and investors, they made a discovery that turned curiosity into obsession. At 90 feet, they found a stone tablet. Carved into its surface were strange symbols. When translated decades later, the message was clear. 40 feet below, 2 million pounds lie buried. The next day, they returned to find the shaft flooded with seawater. Someone had engineered a booby trap, dig too deep, breach the wrong layer, and the ocean itself would rush in to protect whatever lay beneath. The body count 6 people have died on Oak Island. Maynard Kaiser in 1897, crushed by equipment. Robert Restall in 1965, overcome by gas fumes. His son Bobby and 2 workers died trying to save him. A local legend emerged: 7 must die before the treasure is found. The deaths didn't stop the digging. They never do. Not when whispers suggest the island holds secrets that could rewrite history. What if Captain Kidd's treasure was here? What if it was Blackbeard's hoard? What if the Knights Templar fled Europe with sacred artifacts and buried them in the New World, centuries before Columbus? What if Marie Antoinette's jewels, smuggled from revolutionary France, lay beneath Oak Island's waterlogged soil? Or, and this is where it gets truly strange, what if the original manuscripts of Shakespeare's plays were hidden here, evidence of a conspiracy that the bard himself never wrote a single word? Theories multiplied. Millions of dollars vanished into the ground. The island became a graveyard of dreams and fortunes, until the Laginas arrived. Enter the Laginas. Rick and Marty Lagina were 11 and 8 years old when they read about Oak Island in Reader's Digest. Rick became obsessed. Marty became practical. Rick dreamed of treasure. Marty built a fortune in the energy business. By 2006, they had the resources to do what dreamers couldn't: buy controlling interest in Oak Island and apply modern technology to an ancient mystery. But the Canadian government had conditions. Dig carefully. Document everything. And if you find artifacts of historical significance, they belong to Nova Scotia. The Laginas agreed. The cameras started rolling in 2014 for The Curse of Oak Island. What was supposed to be a limited series became a phenomenon. Millions watched as Rick, Marty, and Rick's son, Alex, attacked the island with ground-penetrating radar, electromagnetic surveys, and drilling equipment that could punch through bedrock like butter. They found tantalizing clues: medieval coins, pieces of parchment, fragments of leather bookbinding carbon-dated to the 15th century, traces of gold in the water, a lead cross matching Templar designs. But never the grand prize. Never the treasure chamber everyone believed existed somewhere beneath the infamous money pit. The skeptics laughed. The believers waited. And Alex Lagina, the youngest treasure hunter, kept drilling. The breakthrough moment. Spring 2024. The team had identified an anomaly using seismic testing. Something large, metallic, and definitely not natural sat approximately 100 feet below the surface in an area just north of the original money pit. They'd been wrong before. Ground-penetrating radar can be fooled by mineral deposits, water pockets, or old drilling equipment left behind by previous treasure hunters. But this signature was different, denser, more uniform, and it appeared to be inside a void, an open chamber where no water had penetrated despite 2 centuries of flooding. Marty was cautious. We've had our hearts broken before. Rick was hopeful. This feels different. Alex was determined. We're drilling whether it feels different or not. The drill rig positioned over the target coordinates. The bit began its descent. 70 feet, 80, 90. The mud coming up showed nothing unusual. At 95 feet, the drill hit resistance. Not stone, not bedrock. Something that gave slightly before the bit punched through. Wood. Oak. Carbon dating would later confirm it was cut in the late 1600s. They'd found a chamber, sealed, intact, protected by the very flooding mechanism that had thwarted treasure hunters for 228 years. What came up from the deep? The oscillator tool went down next, a device that could extract larger samples without collapsing the shaft. Alex operated the controls himself. Later, he'd say his hands were shaking so badly he could barely manage the toggles. The first extraction brought up fragments of oak, still solid despite centuries underground. The wood showed tool marks inconsistent with 18th century equipment. Someone had worked this timber with precision instruments. The second extraction changed everything. Gold coins, not 1 or 2, dozens, fused together by sediment and time. Portuguese, Spanish, English, French. Dating from 1640 to 1702. The third extraction brought up something that made Rick Lagina sit down hard on the equipment case. A jeweled crucifix, 8 inches tall. Gold setting. Rubies, emeralds, and diamonds in a design matching no known maritime artifact. The fourth extraction, more coins, silver bars, and a rolled parchment sealed in wax, miraculously preserved by the chamber's unique conditions. Marty called the authorities immediately. Under the terms of their excavation license, discoveries of this magnitude required immediate government notification. What they'd found in just 4 extractions was valued at over $12 million. But ground-penetrating radar suggested the chamber extended 20 feet in diameter. If the distribution was even remotely consistent, they weren't looking at millions. They were looking at hundreds of millions. The artifacts that change history. The Heritage Department arrived within hours. The parchment went to conservation specialists at Dalhousie University. What they found inside made international headlines. It was a manifest, written in late 17th century French, listing cargo transferred to the island stronghold in 1701. The signature at the bottom belonged to a man named Michel Leblanc, documented as a quartermaster for the French Navy, who disappeared from records in 1702. The manifest listed treasures recovered from the Spanish Plate Fleet, 1701, gold coins, 47 chests, silver bars, 83 crates, jewels and religious artifacts from the sack of Cartagena, personal effects of the Duchess of Savoy, transported under royal seal. But the final line is what made historians lose their minds. Documents of the priory, sealed under Templar oath, to be protected until the time of revelation. Knights Templar. The warrior monks dissolved in 1312 under charges of heresy, their vast wealth vanishing overnight. Legends said they fled to Scotland, then possibly to the New World. The lead cross found years earlier suddenly made perfect sense. The medieval parchment fragments, the coconut fiber, not native to Nova Scotia, but used by ships traveling from Mediterranean ports. The elaborate flooding system that matched engineering techniques used by Templar masons. Oak Island wasn't just a treasure cache. It was an archive, a time capsule, a deliberate preservation of artifacts someone believed needed to survive into the future. The excavation continues. As of today, the chamber excavation continues under strict archaeological supervision. The Laginas have stepped back from direct control, but Alex remains on site as a consulting representative. Current estimates value the find at $200 million, though that number climbs daily as new artifacts emerge. 17 chests have been extracted so far. Each one contains precisely catalogued treasure, suggesting whoever buried it intended for it to be found eventually. But questions multiply faster than answers. Why Oak Island? Who had the resources to engineer such an elaborate hiding place? If the Templars were involved, what documents did they consider worth protecting for 700 years? And perhaps, most intriguingly, the chamber appears to be only the first level. Seismic testing shows additional voids beneath the current excavation. Larger chambers, deeper, more complex. The original money pit may have been a decoy all along, a distraction that consumed generations of treasure hunters, while the real prize sat undisturbed just 200 feet away. Alex Lagina, the skeptic who became a believer, the engineer who trusted the data over the legend, may have solved the greatest treasure mystery in North American history. But here's the twist no one saw coming. The final revelation among the artifacts extracted last month was a sealed copper cylinder. Inside, another document. This one dated 1762, 60 years after the manifest. It was written in English by someone who knew about the original deposit, someone who added to it. The document references completion of the work begun by our brothers in faith and mentions final deposits made to preserve knowledge forbidden by Rome and Crown alike. 1762, the exact period when the British were consolidating control over Nova Scotia, when French settlers were being expelled, when someone might need to hide something from incoming authorities. The document is signed, but the name has historians puzzled. G.W., Master of the Colonial Lodge. George Washington was a Freemason, Master of a Colonial Lodge. The dates align. Could the first President of the United States have known about Oak Island? Could he have contributed to its mystery? The investigation continues. The excavation proceeds carefully, reverently, aware that every scoop of soil might contain something that rewrites everything we thought we knew. Alex Lagina pushed past 100 feet and found treasure beyond imagination. But the real discovery isn't the gold, it's the story. A story that spans centuries, crosses oceans, and connects secret societies, lost archives, and the birth of nations. 7 must die before the treasure is found, the legend said. 6 have fallen. The treasure has emerged. What happens when the 7th chamber is opened? That's a story still being written in the mud and bedrock of a small island off the coast of Nova Scotia, where every answer uncovers 10 new questions, and the greatest treasure might not be gold at all. It might be truth,